Welcome to episode 4 of All Teens Sobriety. I'm super excited to welcome today's guest and friend, David Hall. Together, we have shared companionship in living recklessly in our addiction to building an even stronger bond in our sobriety. David got sober 7 years ago, and just being around him at this time also changed the trajectory of my life. This episode shows the true impact sobriety has on the people around us. He shares he began drinking and blacking out at the young age of 16. He describes himself as a problem drinker who could never stop at just one. After a 3-month clean streak, David thought he could regain control over his drinking, went out for one drink for the 4th of July, and it turned into a 2-week bender where the physical withdrawals had serious health consequences. Join our conversation to find out how David went from physical addiction to drugs and alcohol to traveling all over the world, living nomadically, and sharing this beautiful life with his fiancée, Daniela. Okay, you're on the spot now.
All right,
No turning back, no filter.
let's go.
All right. This is my dearest friend, David Hall, and I'm so excited to have him on the 4th episode of All Teens Sobriety today. David and I go back 15, 16 years. We were out at the bars every night when we were young and wild and free. And we have so much history together. He's actually the person that inspired me to get sober. I had never witnessed somebody take that path in real life, at least not somebody that I was really close with. And just watching him walk that path, I felt the inspiration and also the capabilities that I could do it. And like that's a really big thing. And so I want to welcome him today and maybe talk about some of our past fun party moments or not. And yeah, just give him a platform and a space to share who he is and a little bit about his sobriety journey. So, David.
Oh my gosh, what an intro. And I had a little emotional tear kind of come up there. 'Cause yeah, gosh, when did I meet the Durst family and sisters? I think we were working at Tahoe Joe's. I think Kara was working there, and you had your owl purse that we would take with us to you would take it to Black Sheep after work.
I thought it was so cool with my leather owl satchel.
Oh, I think we have
Kara
photos
is
of
my
us sitting
Kara
next
is
to
my
it.
sister, by the way, and yeah, they worked at Tahoe Joe's in San Luis Obispo together.
Oh my gosh. No, I think it's so funny because we were kind of like, we didn't care. Once we got drunk, we just kind of went for it.
Mhm.
And I remember in college, we would, gosh, you moved to Avila Beach, I think, and they had that bar, Mr. Rick's, and we would go there all the time. And I remember, I think we were together that one night, and I think we both got asked to leave.
Mm.
And like,
Every
and I
time I
think it was
went
like a,
to Mr. Rick's, I got 86th, and I was back like 2 days later.
yeah, man. Well, yeah, so I'll introduce myself. My
Wait,
name's
we have to
David.
finish that story, but because there's actually more to that one, which is really
Is
funny. We
That's
were,
when you decided to move from Avila Beach because you couldn't go to Mr. Rick's anymore?
oh no, I still lived there for like another year up until I moved to Hawaii, but we got 86th from Mr. Rick's, and neither of us really remember anything. But we woke up and we had definitely went swimming in the ocean because
Oh
fully
my
clothed,
God.
remember? And our clothes were like still soaking wet. And I was like wringing out my skirt and I was like, did we swim? Like, what the heck? Crazy. And yeah, that was just one of our many lush experiences together.
Yeah.
So
There were
where?
some good times, I think, in there, but there was also a
Oh,
lot of like, looking back, we were very lucky that there is no long-term consequences, I think, for both of us.
period.
So,
I had
yeah.
this conversation with Pamela. She was in episode 1. And one of the things that we talked about was how close we escaped death, or even just like a really gnarly lifelong consequence. And I get chills every time I talk about this because, like, once you get sober, it's like, how could you not believe in a higher power after being saved from something so gnarly so many times? It's not just like it happened one time and it's like, okay, that was weird. It's like I can go back and be like, how am I even still here? And there's only one explanation.
Now, it's been a little bit since we talked about this, but I knew when I was first getting involved, when I talk about higher power religion, I think you were still kind of like figuring out if you believed or subscribed to that. Has that shifted?
I think that I've always been a very wild, free spirit. So any title like religion or anything that like fits people into this almost like stereotype, I would try and steer clear from. I had a more like universal perspective, more spiritual, and I wasn't really tapped into the whole God, the power of God and source at the beginning of my sobriety. I believed in divine energy, the stars, the universe, and all of that, and going to that as a higher power. And it wasn't until about, I would say, a year and a half ago that I started having a really more strong connection to God and what that meant to me. Um, but yeah, in the beginning, it was like, I'm not going to church. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. Anything that kind of feels like it has a really rigid structure behind it. I don't. I don't want that.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because that topic, like different people get sober different ways. And a lot of things that are always typically present though is some aspect of spirituality, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it has to be like something that's bigger than you. And I think when you talk to people that are like some of the books I'm reading right now is Michael Singer. He has
Mm-hmm.
like I think Untethered Soul and then The Surrender Experiment.
Yeah.
My goodness, it talks about like just different views of spirituality and how to take about it. But like I think for some people, like if we go back to our drinking, we say like, hey, like at the time, I we didn't really, I don't think we maybe had purpose. We didn't really understand what we were doing. We just wanted to have fun. We kind of lived one day at a time, but like in a negative way. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like it was like YOLO, fuck it. Like let's just go. Like
Right.
we're not guaranteed tomorrow. I'm not subscribing to society.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have a job. Like this is like just for fun. So it's interesting as adults, if because that's what we're technically are, I guess. How our views on life changes.
Mm-hmm. a hundred
Um,
percent. Yeah, it's like it was a very like live in the moment, no consequences. Like if I'm not getting fired from my job, then like I'm okay. If I still have someone to call to like go out and get drinks with, like I'm okay. It's like very much yeah, what's the expression? Flying by the seat of your pants or something. It's just like, and I think that when I look back at like my drinking and all the anxiety and all of the not taking responsibility for my life and all of that building up, that just created a state of like survival mode, which is what I was in as a drinker. It's like, okay, get through today, and like that's the best that you can do. But like it was no like there was no goals, no purpose, like nothing like that at all.
yeah.
And so
I think it's interesting. just the way our lives kind of turned out like and intersected because, you know, I think even when I moved back to Slow, I think we were both still going out a little bit, partying, right?
Hmm. When you,
Yeah.
um, I think the final, when we, I think you had moved back from Vegas and I had moved back from Tahoe. And I think at the point that I was meeting up with you, you were really freshly sober. And I was like,
Okay.
damn. And I remember I had, when I saw you before that, you were probably at like the peak of your, I don't know if you put a label behind it, but your problematic lifestyle. And we had partied a few times
Yeah.
before you moved to Vegas. And I was like, I was a mess too, but like, of course, you always deflect onto like somebody who you think is like worse than you. And I was like, I'm really concerned for this man. Like, I'm really concerned because like one day we were hanging out, and the next day you're like, I live in Vegas. And I was like, what is happening? Like, and so when then we had our own path. You were in Vegas for a while, I was in Tahoe, and we both ended up back at the Central Coast around the same time. And you were maybe here a little while before me. And during that time, like you were getting sober. And that was like mid 2019.
Yeah. So my journey, and I
When's
can
your
give a little,
sobriety date?
yeah. So July 24th, I have 7 years.
Yes.
So 7 years, no drugs, no alcohol, not even on the weekends, right? And before that, like you had said, like since I was like 16, I was like, I would like black out, you know, that was just who I drank, like how we drank at least. And
Mm-hmm.
so like after a long time, like people might say it's like rock bottom or whatever, but like I was drinking so much, and then my body at some point, I've always been a problem drinker where it's like I can't have just one, and
Mm-hmm.
then there's just bad issues that happen when I drink, you know? And then at a certain point, my body literally became addicted to alcohol, like where I'd have withdrawals if I didn't have it, or I would need to have it like almost every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the Vegas. So that's when I was in Vegas. It was like 24 hours a day. It took me 3 months to drive from Vegas to LA to move because I would be at this point of like, I think I'm gonna pass out or I'm gonna like I need a little bit of booze. Then I became too drunk. So then I'd have to stop and like go back home. It was messy. It was really messy. And so like when we crossed paths again, I think I was just like initially living with my family at the time. And then I moved into Oceano. And then I think 1 year in, I moved to Morro Bay because you sold me on it. You were like, you
I
gotta check out the bay.
The problem is, though, Morro Bay is not for an extroverted personality, which is David, which I also want to talk about really bad. If you're an introvert and you like to cuddle on the couch, like, and not do shit, it's great. But
Yeah.
let me digress a little bit. So, like, yeah, you were in Vegas, took you a long time to get there because your physical dependencies on alcohol, and whatever else. And so like talk to me just a little bit about what your turning point was. Like was it an actual medical moment? Was it a slow like over a few years knowing like shit, I'm gonna have to get myself together eventually? Or was there like not it doesn't have to be a rock bottom, but was there like a moment that you remember making the conscious decision like I have to stop drinking?
Yeah. So there was a lot of like, I'm going to try to drink normally moments where I was like, okay, like I'm just gonna go for one, you know? So I did that a lot. I went to Vegas when I was there. I had like 90 days sobriety. I just kind of white knuckled it. I did go to some meetings because there was nothing else to do. I had no job. I had nothing. And I was like, well, I guess I'll go to some meetings, you know? And but nothing really resonated. And so when I finally moved back to slow, Um, I remember I got a job at like Mind Body and just moved out and I said, "Hey, you know what? My life, I can do this again. I can go out to Black Sheep. I'm gonna have one drink and I'm gonna go home on 4th of July."
Not Black
And
Sheep.
4th of July, yeah. And I remember that one drink that I was supposed to have turned into like a large pint. I forget what they called it, and a double shot of Jameson. And then I blacked out, and then I had another 2.5 week bender. And so my sober day was July 24th. And I remember it was really sad because I had been having like alcohol withdrawal seizures at that point because I go so hard and my body would just literally shut down. And so medically, like I had to take these, I forget what they call it. I'll get the name of the drugs, but like it helps people from not having seizures and it
Yeah.
also helps you with like the withdrawal symptoms. So I remember I was like some 30, how old was I back then? Like 32.
Hmm.
And I remember I was like so devastated that I just almost crashed everything to the ground again. And I said, huh, what am I doing with my life? And my younger sister picked me up. I had no more money because I spent it at like McCarthy's. And I had gone to, she had like taken me and used like her own personal credit card to purchase like my medical like appointment at the med stop. And I was like, wow, what a low. Like, what a low. Uh, and it was that point I remember I went back to my parents' house and just kind of like was living on the couch for a little while. And I was kind of like in this zone where I just didn't know what to do. And for that first time, I just had this clarity. I didn't want to drink anymore, but I didn't want to live this way. I didn't want to, do anything. And there's about 3 months, I just basically was like a zombie. And I remember I was like sitting in the room cleaning. And I go through and I had like collected a chip, I had a 90-day chip that was like in a box. And I was like, whoa. And I was like on my knees already. And the first time I ever said a prayer, I just said, you know what? There's a higher power out there. Like I'm alive for a reason. And it's probably not to just be an idiot and get drunk, pissed off my ass, like for 24 hours a day. So now I'm here to try things your way. And I'm gonna try to give this a shot. And that was the moment I said, I'm going to try to be sober and just see where the world takes me.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So is that it was like that point, was it that day? Do you recall, or did it take you a while? Did you have to like taper with the medication and certain things? And then how did you find your like support and community after you made that decision?
Yeah. So I remember I didn't have any money anymore, right? It took me a little while to get it. Luckily, I still had a job. And that was another thing. Like with me, at least, I justified everything I did as long as I had a job. It was like, I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
And I did that for a long time because people would just like hire me, whether I tricked them or just like they liked me for a little bit,
You're very
they would hire me.
charming. How, I mean,
Yes. When I wanted to party, I would get a job. So, like for me, it was not just one thing, it was this constant chain of events and me trying to cross off everything I could to still live the way I wanted to. But at a certain point, like it just came to a head. I realized there was no way that I could live a life that included drinking. And I said, well, what are you going to do about it now? And so for the first time, I had this like moment of clarity and I just sat there and I kind of was just literally like a zombie for 3 months. I
mm-hmm.
would take my little bike, take it 2.5 miles from Napomo to the bus stop, take the bus an hour too slow, almost get my ass killed on Tank Farm Road there. Like these cars are like, get the fuck over. I'm like, my
The
God.
bike lane's like this big on Tank Farm and the speed limit's like 60, dude. I'm
People are like on their phones, like, fuck
like,
you. So like, yeah, I did that for 3 freaking months. And because I had no money, I had nowhere to go. I just thought. And through that entire process, it was so funny. I sat there and I was like, the only way I could probably drink without problems of like maybe if like I won the lottery and I had like the security person just follow me around everywhere I go and keep me. I was like, wait a second, that is crazy. Like what?
That's how extreme the negotiations will get though. Like that is such a good thing to say out loud because you try to moderate and your negotiations internally they sound crazy. They sound crazy. You're making
Yeah.
yourself crazier.
I could justify anything,
Hmm.
especially to like keep partying. Like, okay, I'm already this, I can't pay rent this month, Like it was always a thing like, okay, at least I can pay rent. And then it became that point I didn't have enough money to pay rent. You know what I mean? And then it was like, hey, well, if I'm already down this far, like I can just take out a small loan and get through this month. And it was like, well, like you start just getting lower and lower and there's nothing to show for. And like I know you talk about FOMO a lot on these things, but like at first I had it, right? I was like, man, where are all my really good buddies at? And I was like, wait, those aren't my buddies. Like they don't really care what I'm doing right now.
Haven't heard
They're
shit from them.
they're just living their life, like you had drinking people.
Yeah.
And like for me, I had to sit there and say like, okay, like well, kind of that moment, I'm gonna give everything, I'm gonna give it 100%. Like if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do 1 year. I said I'm gonna give myself 1 year. I'm gonna see if my life gets better. And it was at that point I said, okay, well, this is so funny how we think. Like I was like, well, what do like people who don't drink? What do they do? I was like, Mormons. Do you think they have a good time, or what do athletes do, or like you start going like, are there productive members of society that are able to have fun? And like I realized there are, and so I was like, okay, like well, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get hobbies because I didn't have any. And then I was like, okay, like well, I can just work a lot because that makes me money, and I owe a lot of money. And then I was like, okay, I need to actually like, because I hated myself, and I was like kind of a mess because I hadn't worked on myself in like 15 years, and I was still a little kid. So it was at that point I kind of started giving more things to my higher power. I was like trying to get this counselor through my EAP, and I
Hmm.
gave up. And I was like, okay, one more phone call. And I made a phone call to them, and they were like, oh, we found somebody actually in this location by your house, and it was perfect. And I show up, and I get to that counselor, and she specialized in people who had like abused alcohol.
Hmm.
And she goes, are you going to any programs or anything? And I was like, no. Like I've been sober for 90 days. I don't think I need it.
Hmm.
She's like, well, I'm going to tell you something, David. Secretly, my clients, I always take them through the steps. Like, if you sound like you probably at a party, like you have a problem with drinking, like there's people that are trying to do the same thing that you are. It'd probably be good to have a community. And by the way, like the work that you do within those are really aligned to the work I do here in therapy. And for the first time, I voluntarily started going to like sober groups and joining the community and I was like very like not I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to preach. I was so embarrassed. Like I didn't want people to see me going into these like rooms. But like yeah, for the first year, I was kind of just soaking up anything I could and trying not to let my emotions get the best of me.
Yeah. Yeah. And you must have overcome that like whatever it was, like feeling of embarrassment that you were in the program or something because at the point that I came around, like you were very into it and you never preached it, you never like laid it on or anything like that, but you were kind of like leading them at that point and stuff. And we even went to one together and like, you were it didn't seem like you were ashamed or anything at that point. So I think, and in a previous story, I've heard the same thing. Like they had ran the program a few times, but with their ego still being like, I'm in control. I don't have to do that. I'm not as bad as so and so, and all of those things that happen. And eventually, kind of sounds like the same for you. Like once he surrendered to it, like it's kind of like, I'm giving this to my higher power. If I have to work these steps, then I'm gonna give it 100% because why else even show up, you know? And I think it sounds like that's probably the point that you were really like, no, this is like really helpful. And if somebody has like an addictive personality, when you get sober, it's almost essential that you get some kind of structure because you're so busy trying to control every area of your life that when you let go into a journey like that, you need something. You need some ground for your feet to land on. And that's where those 12 steps are like a great place to start. It's a fundamental, like, let's regrow, like, who you are as a person, as an adult, and like move through these steps. And I think it's super transformative and saves lives all the time.
Yeah, I think I've seen, you know, most people they always say this, you don't nobody in their right mind is going to just start to want to do that. It takes
Hmm.
some people that have kind of like exhausted a lot of other options
Yeah.
because it's like who's going to try to like go through that process? It's like, it's not humiliating, but it's like it's a lot of work. You're like, what do you mean?
Hmm.
But I did make a promise to myself. I said, I'm going to do it 100%, right? Like, I'm not going to just half-ass this. There's no compromise. And there was no like contingencies with getting this done. It was, I'm going to do it. I'm going to give it 100%. I'm going to see where it goes. It wasn't like I'm only going to do this if I get my car back or a driver's
Yeah.
license or a hot chick within 2 years or like a new job. It wasn't anything like that. And I think for me, I didn't want it to be my identity, but I was like, I'm gonna go meet people that are like me.
Hmm.
I'm gonna go and just have as much fun as possible. So like going to the beach, going bowling, like going on these specialty hikes, like doing like going to lunch, like just like farmers markets, like all the different stuff that we could do, playing basketball. And then I was like, also, I lived a very full life. Like started doing sports. Like I was going to Orange Theory every single like 3 to 4 times a week. So
That's right. There you go.
exercise is amazing, counseling, and like and you have to fill up your time. And I was like, wait, like I have so much time on my hands. And like, you always saw me. We meet at the coffee shops. I'm reading our books and so many self-help books that I
Mhm.
just consumed because
Yeah.
I think we're our biggest enemies at times, and your mind can just screw you up. So it's like, how do you make it stop and play what you're yeah, especially if you're not in a good place because it's I knew for the longest time like I hated myself. I had a lot of resentments against myself and I needed to build self-confidence and I got that through all sorts of different avenues. Like it wasn't just one thing, but I would say the core of if there's someone that's struggling with booze, like you should definitely work work some sort of a program.
100%. You need the structure. And something that you said that I like actually love is to put it in different words, like when you started going and not having it be attached to any kind of outcome, like the girl getting your car back, getting a better paying job or like whatever, that's when you were really ready to surrender into like what the program had to offer you, and then you could just be present in the process however that shows up. And I think that alone, like going into anything that you're unsure of or whatever, like not attaching an outcome to it or an expectation will take you a lot further and keep you present. Um, and so I really respect that. And yeah, I think it's a great place for people to start. You need to have some kind of sense of community. And yeah.
No, I think that's one of the things that most people struggle with is loneliness and like,
Hmm.
you know, I was so excited that you decided to not drink because we were little neighbors, you know? Like we would like go painting Bob Ross or we would like just go get like ice cream or walk
It was
around, go on
so
a
cute. I wanted
hike.
my bestie out there so bad. And like, so I had convinced David to move out to Morro Bay. So I only got my place in Morro Bay after I decided to quit drinking. That place came to me a month into my sobriety journey because I had moved through some really crazy stuff to get that apartment. And Morro Bay was just like so healing. It has such a healing energy. Like my body felt relaxed, my anxiety was going away. And so I convinced David, like I found him an apartment who had the same landlord as me, and I was like, recommend him. So I got him out there, and we did. We could just like hang out and support each other, and it was really, really beautiful to have that. It was really beautiful because I my path was like a lot. You seemed to just go about your life after you got sober. I mean, David was like going out to dinner. He'd always find somebody to hang out with and doing all of these spin classes and, all of these extracurricular things, the Orange Theory fitness. He was always doing something. My ass needed to lay on the couch for like 2 years. Like, I was so exhausted. And when we talk about like that survival mode again, just like trying to hold it together for years at a time, day in and day out, I couldn't. Like, I laid around and let the healing like find me. And I feel like that's also something that I wanted to talk about with you because you're very extroverted. And for somebody that has that personality, their life really can't be put on pause because it's such a big part of who they are to have social outlets and connections all the time. So if you don't know anybody that's sober or doing sober things, like it almost seems like more challenging to pull off like that like where do you find your people, like what do you start doing? And I watched David just like navigate it so well. I'm like I'm confused, like isn't he tired, like why am I so tired? But he just he got his life on track, and then he kept going as David, just as like this new version of David, and he just like really threw himself back out into the world. And I was like really, really inspired by that. Could not be me until like literally year 3 and 4. I started getting a little bit more social, truly. But I was just like, man, this boy doesn't quit. Like he's gonna find his tribe and he's gonna do the thing at where he is right now in his life. And that was amazing. That was
No,
amazing.
yeah, we had some really good times like in Moro, and I remember it was so funny. You would like be so honest with me about when your social battery could allow for us to hang out, and I would get a little mad at you sometimes, but like I respected the boundaries because you needed to set that, and I was just like, ah, fine, all right, I'll take the 16th of December.
I know, like he had to schedule time with me. Well, I will say this, at that time, I poured all of my energy, my sobriety journey and all of that into hair and my career because at that time I was an independent contractor, so I was kind of building my own small business, and I gave it everything. I mean, I took home mannequin heads, I practiced on the weekends, I gave 110% to every client that was in my chair, and I did that for 5 days straight, or like 5 days a week. And so, as an introvert, that was a lot for me, and I was expired on my 2 days. I needed them. Um, but I always did want to hang out, and it is challenging to like say it and be so nervous that like your friends are gonna like take it personally, like that you don't like them or something. And it's like it's just not even like that. But he always respected my boundaries, and like when we did hang out, then I could show up because I was in a good place, and it wasn't like forced. I was like rested and ready to go. But yeah,
Yeah,
you're right.
I think it's interesting, right? Like I think people really, really, really need to like find their own path and their purpose, right? And like we go back to the higher power, like I remember as like an extrovert, I would sit there and like my life had revolved around drinking. Like I had just done it all my life. Like, and we had a lot of good times, right? Like
Hmm.
through college, through whenever. And then like it stopped being fun, but like my life was like booze and drugs and whatever. And so like when I first got sober, like it was just like I remember it was like I couldn't even go into like a liquor store without being triggered, you know? And then it was like, oh my gosh, like and then I had this like urge for some reason to try to like, oh man, I had so many good times in bars. Let me go try to find maybe I can find my tribe there. And like bad, like
You did? You would go
Like
out?
I, it was like I remember I walked in and within about with my coworkers and within about 10 minutes I realized why I don't like bars. They were talking about going snowboarding. It was summer, you know what I mean? Like and there was like I was like, "Oh, okay. So like I can't just like assume that the only thing I stop doing is drinking and then my life is going to be amazing."
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like you literally have to do the work and do it 100% without conditions. Like, are you literally willing to do what it takes to have a happy life? And like, it's painful. You have to work on some, like I think I went to like six different therapists, through like the last 7 years, and
You
like,
were really giving it. But that's how you got that. That's why you have so much success and longevity is because you freaking gave it everything you had, your whole heart.
and it's like it's cool. Like I remember I decided to like leave San Luis Obispo. I was like, it's too small for me, you know? And I think I was like, I'm gonna go to Austin, Texas. And then I was sitting there, and I think it was during COVID. Texas just lived their life, California was a little more locked down.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember there was I think my aunt passed away, and then my grandma passed away the
That's right.
same week. And I was
That's
by
right.
myself, and I
Yeah.
was like, I remember reading this
Remember.
like what do people on their deathbed wish they had done differently? And it was like the top 9 things. And I was like, shoot. So I was like, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna travel. And so I tried booking a trip to Argentina. They were still shut down. And then I saw that Peru had very cheap flights. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna go to Peru for a month. There's Machu Picchu. And then that's when actually you decorated my house. That
That's
was
right.
really cool.
Yeah. Redid
Yeah,
the
it was
apartment.
so cool.
I was like, if you're
And
gonna date, this is not the vibe, honey. This is not it. Like, I got you though, because I want this for you. And so yeah, I vibed out your apartment while you were gone for a week or two. I don't know how long it was. A week, something.
I was gone a month, but it took you like a week, and you went 100%. It was
I was
really
it.
nice.
It was really cool. It was really fun for me too. I'm like,
I
hand me the
felt,
credit card, let's go.
oh my gosh.
Yeah, tell
Yeah,
me
that was
how
a,
you. Yeah, so we're gonna get into like your story, like where you are today, like what you do, but how this like travel journey started for you. And like, I didn't know that you had a moment when I remember when you went to Texas and you were with your family and stuff. And you had known some other people that were living a little more nomadically, and it just resonated with you, probably because there was a future version of yourself that was like, yeah, we're going to be taking planes. We're going to be taking planes a lot.
it was interesting. I knew it before I landed. There's like sober groups around the world, which includes Lima, Peru. And so I was like, I don't know, at the time, this like old timer was like, don't go. You don't have 5 years of sobriety. I was like, dude, like, I can't sit. My life is not to live in a bubble. Like, getting sober was so I can enjoy life 110%. Like, it's so I can do whatever I want. And I want to do it in a way that I want to do it. So I
Love it.
think Lima was a huge transition point for me. It built a lot of self-confidence. It helped me with like understanding who I am and really just developed me as a person. And I said, I want more of that. And at that point, I came back and I couldn't resell my apartment. So I just got rid of it, got rid of all my stuff, my car, everything. And I just took 2 bags and I went to Argentina for 3 months. And then I just kept traveling the world. So,
You just did not quit. So was it like, was it, was there something about the city of Lima that built your confidence, or was it something about like doing the hard thing, like getting on the plane, traveling by yourself, figuring it out along the way that built like that self trust that kind of led to confidence? Or was it something about like the energy of Lima where people just moving different there? Like, what would you contribute that like that built that self trust for you or that confidence?
yeah, it was probably all the first three things that you had said. And then for me, it was like I was able to make friends. I was able to like show up and go on like these random dates with like people in that city. And I was able to actually go and have like mocktails and like, like whatever. And it was like for the first time I realized that like I don't have to do certain activities drunk. Like I can do normal life sober. And I just love the freedom that I didn't like, as you know, as I go into dinners and stuff, I go solo to dinner.
Yeah.
Like because it was such a pressure to try to find someone in COVID. You know what I mean? Like, oh, like their political preferences, their mask policy, their schedules. So I just would go a lot solo. And I was like, I kind of like hanging out by myself. Like got a little Christy Durst, like I was feeling those like solo vibes. And then at that point, it was I just it was like a book I was reading, it was the therapy I was doing, it was the friends I was making. I said, like, I am not that version of David. I can create whatever version I want. And like I now love who I am. You know what I mean? And
I
like I like
do.
that person in the mirror. And and I said, this is really cool. And so I would just wanted to do it more. And like I did it.
That's so cool. That gives me goosebumps all the way up to my head. Like that's I also recall a moment that was like really similar that I just like realized that like so much of who I was is like no longer who I can bring forward into life anymore. And it was like 90 days, 100 days in, and I was coming back from a trip and I was just like wow, like I really have to strip off like this entire like suit. And that's what it felt like of like a huge like shedding. And if I'm going to do this, right? And if I'm going to like move and paint a new picture. And that's how I always like when I started coaching people, it was that. It's like you really can start off as a blank canvas anytime you're ready to do that. And you can paint a new reality for yourself and you can build the trust and the belief along the way. But at any time in your life you choose that for yourself, you can. And you can release anything that's not serving you anymore, essentially. So it's like, I feel like the lessons that we learn in sobriety literally give us like life skills to move through so much other challenges or like adversity that we face sober. It's like the same thing. I don't know how many times I've like changed my identity in the last 6 years of sobriety of just being like, absolutely not, absolutely not. That's got to go. That's got to go. Like you're cleaning out your closet constantly. And I just love that you said that. You're like, you have that moment where you're like, I love that version and they brought me to where I am today. So, like, bless, so grateful. But, you know, I'm walking in, I need to show up into these rooms as like who I feel like I am now. And that's when really all of that inner work starts to truly show up on not only like mentally, but your body catches up too, right? And it's like, oh, okay, like now I'm on board too. Like, let's go.
Yeah. It's really freeing and it's like it doesn't just happen overnight, right? Like you kind of have to put in the work and coming from a small town, I thought that I was who society defined me as, you know. You see the same people from high school, you see this, you see that, and you're like you have like these past experiences that shape kind of like how stress or triggers or whatever happens in your life, like whether you know it or not. And so like when I sat there and I said, why am I caring about people's opinions that I have literally don't care about? Like they don't care about me. Why do I care about them? Like
Why am
I
I
was
showing
so
up for
blessed.
them, kind of? Like, why am I showing up as a version of myself for somebody else? Is it like approval or like so that they won't judge me? Like, it's weird.
Like 100%. And I think one of the blessings that I've had is I did have some good friends,
Mm.
right? Like there were some good things that people still, when I used to party, transition, and then who I am now, right? Like I still have some really good friends. And then I think the other blessing was like a lot of new friends, people who like did the things that I like to do now, right? And then it's also like the best part I feel is I didn't have a relationship with family. Like another thing that I did, and I highly recommend it, is volunteering.
Yeah,
Like,
that's right. Oh my God. That was so
so I did CASA, and that was like the court appointed special advocate. And
I'm
I
sorry.
was like,
I'm sorry. I just
why?
I just had a like nothing. Nothing.
Oh my gosh. So that program, it was like so interesting. You read on paper, black and white, what these courts and these police are doing, and like, and one of the stats they threw out there, they said 98% of the cases involve alcohol and drugs. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I was just like reading about these parents that are just struggling, and like, you're like, come on, just like stop drinking. And like I'm yelling at this person through the paper, and I'm like, I was that person. Like people are trying to tell me to stop, and I'm like, don't you see what you're doing to your life? They don't. And I remember just
And they had
that helped
children
me.
too.
What?
They had children that they were like essentially losing battles with and all these kinds of things because they couldn't get it together.
Yeah. And my dad had done that, and it was a hard program, and like I was kind of inspired, but like I had a lot of resentments against my family, and like whatever I was entitled. But I was like reading through that, and I was like, my life was not that bad. And like one of the things that you're supposed to do with like life is like figure out, the biggest challenge living life on life's terms, like being cool with like whatever happens. And then also like being cool with yourself in terms of like not having resentments against things, and getting rid of things that are going to trigger you to drink, or, oh my gosh, like this thing happened to me. And it could be a very serious thing, but like you learn you don't have to drink over it. And you have to like, because for me, that ship had sailed like a long time ago. And I made one thing. I said like I want to have fun, right? Like it has to be better sober than drunk. Like so how do I do that? And I don't miss any aspects of it. Like, just to talk about where I am today, like I kind of like pinch myself at times because I have like good relationships with my family. Like my dad wants to invest in a business that I want to do. Like what? I was calling him 7 years ago asking him for rent money because I supposedly whatever excuse, and like you sit there and you're able to show up for people, pick them up for the airport. That was the driving. Could not do that before.
Right. Yeah.
And getting to see my nieces and nephews grow up, and like the partner that I have now, my fiance, like met her in Petra, Jordan, right? Like an accomplished person who actually saw value in who David was. Like, and we've just only known each other sober. Like, that is insane that like, and Christy, I tell her stories sometimes and I have to tone it down in my delivery because I'll like say something of my old ways, and
Mhm.
she's like, what the fuck? Like, you and I, like, we might be able to like talk about it. Like, oh yeah, I was just doing bumps of coke in the bathroom, and like this one guy, and
On a Tuesday. I mean, at noon, it's
she's like,
fine.
I would have never talked to you if it was the old David, and it's like, So life is good. Life is good. I'm
It
calling you
shows
from
how far you've come.
Barcelona, so
Yeah.
I can work remote, and companies actually want to hire me now. And I don't have to make amends for lying to them about just needing them for some payroll dollars to get my next 2 months of drinking, you know. So life's good. Life's good.
Yeah, David travels literally all over the world. He's been to some of the most incredible places. I mean, he celebrated New Year's Eve in Sydney, Australia. And just, I mean, his life is just blossomed. And he's put in work. And he didn't stop putting in work just because he got sober. He's continuously educated himself, worked on himself, and he walks the walk. There's no other way to say it, and that's what it takes. And you keep building the reality of what you want. And it's been just amazing to watch you. I have FOMO watching you travel to all these places. It's so cool. I can't wait to work online and be just like David someday. Um, and meet my fiance in a foreign country.
Make sure it's a good one.
Yeah,
There's
no,
some.
I know. David is forging the path for a lot of people, and his your story is amazing. And the last thing I just want to like close out because I think we hit most of the marks. We did. And the last thing I just want to close out, like if you had a dear friend that you've known maybe like since high school on and off, and they came to you and they said, David, like I'm really struggling. I want to stop drinking alcohol. I don't know where to start. My life's trash. What would you say to them? Like what would be a few sentences advice? It doesn't have to be a novel, but like would you be able to break it down?
Oh, wow. I think for me, it's interesting. It's like, hey, you gotta give up. Oh God, you're putting me on the spot.
And it's okay. And like it's a lot because we have a lot that we want to like share in our journey, and it's like getting back to that focal point and what is like the fundamentals of like what helps you actually make the changes.
Yeah, I think I think it's just all about honesty. Like you have to be honest with yourself. Like that's the hardest part. Like people, you'll tell your doctor, you'll like I remember lying to a doctor to get my driver's license back. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to the program. I'm not drinking. I'm doing all this stuff." And I was lying out of my teeth. I told him I went to youth group. And I was like, or some church group. I think for it, it's like, hey, you gotta have the willingness and you have to believe in something bigger yourself and you have to be honest, right? Like, do you really just want these problems to go away or do you want an actual invest in yourself and give yourself an opportunity? Because like I think you're worth it, but if you don't think you're worth it, you're gonna have to trust us until you can see the miracle yourself.
Yeah.
And like to be honest, like if they're a true drinker, like there's sober programs out there that they need help. They might need to go to detox to be able to have a few weeks to get out of it, right? Medically, they can be hurting.
Yeah.
But like depending on where they're at, it will not hurt joining a program. Like that is probably the best way is learning from other people who are like them. They're not unique. We're not snowflakes like we all like to think. We are and we aren't. So
But swallowing that pride and just, the ego has to be offset. Like the ego has to, like you can't carry your ego with you because that like the ego is running the addiction essentially.
yeah.
Um and I think honesty and having those like hard looks in the mirror and being like, bitch, like, and just being able to be honest with yourself. I think that's like an immaculate answer.
Because like I see it all the time and like that's what helps me stay sober. Like all these countries I go to meetings. That is so amazing. I've had meetings in Tel Aviv, like UK love drinking, but like it's not because I sit there, I get stuff from it, but it's like where like I can help people talk to them about what this can look like. You know, people who are fresh and say like, because you have to be of service. That's like the biggest thing is you know, even if you don't think you have value, even people with 3, 4, or 5 days, because there's people with 0 days that would like give anything to get 5 days, 6 days.
That's so true. That's so true. And the sober community, like, we're out here and we believe in you. And that was one thing you said too. If you can't find the worthiness or that you're not capable or have the willpower to do this, you have to surround yourself by people who see you and like drive past the limitations, like see into your soul and it's like you can. Like it's gonna be some work on your end, but like you absolutely can do it. And that energy, maybe not, I don't know. It's something that somebody can feel and like take in. And they might not realize it at the time, but eventually, you, any direction that you want to go in life, it's like anything. You want to become a millionaire, you can't be surrounded by broke people. Like you have to surround yourself by like the community of people that you're leveling up to and their frequency, you will start to rise to it and it will energetically become a match for you. And you have to have that support because whatever mindset you're in, you're not going to get there based on your current mindset. You know, that's where the problem has been the whole time. And so yeah, I think that that's great advice. And I love that.
There's solutions. It's just like, you know, and for me, it's not a one silver bullet. It's a combination of so many different things. I cannot stress. Like I see you out there, I was like with doing the exercise and talking about like how much you love it. Got like
I
a
love it.
walking desk, like exercise fills time, makes you feel so much better and keeps you healthy. Like you like oh my God, like there's so many different things you can do, but exercise and staying with sober people that are happy,
Mhm.
not angry that they're in this situation, those are the people you want to stay with. Not don't be hanging around people who are having a pity party about the situation they're in.
Yeah, I don't know anybody that is like overly bitter about being sober. I mean, I personally don't. Even you still go through situations. It's not like that your life automatically like becomes perfect or so easy to manage. Like you still run into your stuff that you have to overcome, but it's a lot easier and you can overcome it a lot quicker when you have healthy coping mechanisms working with you and when you've built that foundation for yourself of like, you know, you got to get your mentality right. Like, I can do this. Your mindset has to be set on like anything that you want to achieve, you can do. And just
Yeah.
having all of those foundational like aspects that sobriety taught me and like, hey, I want to leave this part of me behind. She's gone. I'm waking up tomorrow and like I'm not running that same program anymore. And it might take a while to pick up speed and momentum, but eventually you will get there. And
Yeah.
I just love this. And we're coming up on our hour. And so
No worries.
if you
I
have
I
anything
loved it.
you want to close out with, but I think the advice that you have, I always want to offer advice for people that may be right on the brink and just they just need to hear certain words from somebody who is successful and loves their sober life.
Yeah. I think it's like take a chance on yourself. You're worth it, right? Don't and yeah. So there's so many resources out there and like I mean, you're an inspiration. Like thank you for putting this on. It's amazing. I'm sure this is like gonna help a lot of people. So excited and you can do this anywhere in the world. You're gonna be out there meeting your fiance somewhere, doing something cool.
Oh my God, thanks. That's just going to be the only part that I highlight on this whole thing. That's going to be the real about me meeting my fiance in another country.
Yes. Well,
Well,
this is
thank you
awesome.
so much.